you put the church and outside in comparison, and the people of our generation choose outside pleasure rather than inside pressure. Church inside the church is actually pressure, not pleasure. Outside is pleasure. So people go after pleasure than going after pressure in the church. That is what you pointed out, I think. So my next question in that regard is, why don't we make the church more attractive for the younger generations? Is that because our churches are not attractive enough? Can we do our churches more attractive so that those people also want to come? I think Uncle Tom, you can answer that.
Okay, there are some churches that are non-denominational churches. It seems like that many people in the United States don't like the idea of denominations now. They don't want to be a Baptist. They don't want to be a Methodist. They don't want to be a Lutheran, etc. They want to go to non-denominational churches. And there are some of the big churches that have very attractive services with great music and exciting speaking and geared toward young people. But even those churches now are starting to see a decline. It's not the fast decline as in some of these older churches, but I think that Pastor Peterson can talk very much about what a typical church looks like these days, because he goes around and visits all of these churches, and it's almost always the same thing, the old people. But I wanted to say one more thing that we hear all the time is that people will say, I am not religious, I'm spiritual. It seems to be that we hear that everywhere. People say that. I don't need to go to a church because I have a spirituality inside of me. And they think about a higher power, but is that a Christian God that they imagine? Or they know that there is spiritual energy in the universe. That's kind of what they believe. And so this gets to be, we hear this so often, is that I don't need a structure of a church. I can be spiritual on my own and have a relationship with someone in the universe. Right? Okay, then maybe Pastor Peterson can tell more of a theological point of view of that.
Exactly, please.
Okay. Well, that's one of the things that churches today, a lot of churches, even our little Methodist church in Lindsborg have tried to do in the past, is to have the music, have the music that will attract younger people. The only problem is that the music that is provided by older people. And a lot of times young people don't want to see that, right? So that is the problem, though, especially smaller churches. In America today, a majority of the churches have 50 in attendance or less. And, you just have so many people that would be able to entertain in a spiritual way. So, we just don't have the people that we need to have a venue that is attractive to young people. That's one of the things. Another thing is, well, you can play contemporary music. You can play tunes that young people might want to listen to and hear, but they're in the outside world, and out of the church, why there's all kinds of music that they love anyway. So, why come to church to listen to contemporary music? It's just one of those things. And then I think the large churches have that venue. They're able to do that. I think of the largest United Methodist Church in the world is in Kansas City. It's in Leawood, Kansas, outside of Kansas City, Church of the Resurrection. And they'll have 5 services, and each one of those services is kind of geared to a different age of people or a different group of people. So you'll have contemporary music in one service, you'll have traditional music in another service, and so on. And they even have a big band that will play music for them. So that's an advantage they have. They bring in a lot of people. But your typical church in Lindsborg, Kansas, for instance, isn't going to have anything like that, and so we're kind of limited in that way also. I think that's all I've got for right now, but
Okay. I see. Yes. I think what you said is very correct. Is also good to make the church attractive, but if we go to the extent of making it unbiblical, then even if people come, then if they don't become the disciple of Christ, I don't think they are going to stay long in the church either. So what you said is, I think, totally correct. We have to see.
And one other thing I'd like to share with you. I've been going to different churches and preaching at them, and just about all of them have this in common. You go, and there maybe 30 or 40 people in attendance. You go, and those in attendance are in their 70s or their 80s. You don't see young people. I've gone to these churches, and I look out across the congregation, and I think, unless something really changes, this church won't be here in 10 years. Everyone will have died off. They're not bringing in youth. They're not bringing in younger adults to take their place. So that's a big problem we have there too. How do we? You want to make the service attractive, but you have to remember that you're there to worship, and you're there to worship God. You're there to worship Jesus Christ. You're not there to worship some pop star. So how do we mold those together? How do we make that work? And we're trying to figure it out. We don't have the answer, not yet, anyway.